Hello, everyone, and welcome to the TeenLife live virtual information sessions. We're super excited to have you all here. We have some great programs here to tell you a little bit more about what each of them do. And before we pass things off to them, I do want to make sure that you understand what our format will be for this session and how you can interact with our program presenters. And so we have 45 minutes here today. We have 6 great programs that are each going to share a little bit more for 6 minutes apiece. And so you may be wondering how you could ask them questions. You'll see this Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen. That is the main way to interact with our presenters this evening. And so any and all questions you have, make sure you're sending them through that Q&A. And you can send those at any point. If you have questions right now, feel free to send them or as others are presenting. A reminder that your camera and microphone are off and they will remain off for the full session. And so, like I said, take advantage of that Q&A. And then also we are recording this session and the recording will be available tomorrow and you'll receive that via email. And so if don't feel like you need to write everything down, you will be able to circle back to this recording to review any information. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started with our first set of presenters, which is J2 Guides.
Thank you so much. We're so happy to be here. I am Jane Soroyan. This is my husband and co-founder of J2 Guides, Jason Soroyan. And a 6-minute power talk is tough because we could speak for hours about the gap year, as our friends and colleagues know. But let's just kick off with a bit of an intro. Who are we and why do we have something to say about this amazing world of experiential education or gap year? Jason and I have each spent about 25 years apiece working in this amazing field of experiential education in wilderness settings and international settings here in the United States, and ultimately mentoring young adults who are standing on the cusp of change. We were gappers ourselves. That migrated both of us to an instructor role. We both were instructing students in our 20s throughout the country and the world. Ultimately, we met as directors of a national nonprofit that was guiding high school summer programs and college and gap semesters overseas. And we've been gap year counseling now for the last decade. And Jason will talk, I think, even a little bit more possibly about that. As gap year counselors, we work a bit like college counselors. Helping families to connect the dots on sort of the next best steps in one's education. We are accredited gap year counselors through the Gap Year Association, and we've been keynote speakers at the USA Gap Year Fairs for the last decade. So just to give a bit of that thumbnail background of who we are and the various hats that we've worn over the last few decades, that's just a bit about us.
That was a great intro.
Thank you.
One of the things that we like to do with families is try and talk a lot about really what a gap year is. This is a novel concept for many families, particularly this year with COVID-19, really disrupting many college plans for students. So we want to break down a really fundamental definition that you all can use to see if gap year might be the right opportunity for you. At its core, at its essence, gap time, as we often refer to it as in this field, is a distinct and intentional period of time that you've taken in your life to step out of what is comfortable, what is typical for you, and move out into the world to learn and to grow. And we say that because there's often this idea out there that a gap year has to be a year, but the reality is we work with students who might have 3 months, or they might have 6 months, or they might have 9 months, or they might have 12 months. Some of the people that we work with are high school age. Some of those students are folks who've just recently graduated high school and are going on to college. Others might not know if they're going on to college. Others are very clear they're not going on to college and there's a different path for them. We also work with a lot of students who are currently in university or who have recently graduated, and lots of adults take gap time. So this is an opportunity that can be for anyone. What we want you to take away from this is that it's a time for you to step out of that typical life, whether it's in the classroom or being at home or in the professional world, to get out into the world and learn and grow. Now, gap time can happen all over the world, and COVID-19 this year particularly showed us how robust the US and domestic gap year experience could be. There are hundreds and hundreds of activities that one can engage in right here from the comfort of your own home, either virtually or out somewhere in the United States, as well as many countries around the world that are starting to open up a little bit more to Americans to travel again. So gap year can happen anywhere. Don't think you have to go somewhere halfway across the world in order to have it be meaningful.
Again, with so much to talk about on such a consolidated amount of time, this slide we created to kind of give you a snapshot of a whole bunch of strategies and concepts as you're at the maybe beginning points of planning. I always recommend that people screenshot a slide like this, but I know that a recording will be made available. But there's a lot of things I want to highlight as you let your eyes kind of fall and maybe settle on one particular place. Maybe it's the photos of people doing internships or wilderness programs or learning a skill like scuba diving. Maybe it's the dollar signs that catch your attention. Maybe it's this idea that there are actually 3 segments here to this gap year and not just one. So to kind of give a 1 or 2 minute overview, one thing that Jason and I are very passionate about discussing with families is really taking a macro level 30,000 foot view to assess your fundamental goals of a gap year, why you're taking it and what some of your ultimate takeaways might be. And most students often can identify over time 2 or 3 primary goals or objectives. And that could be great because while there are plenty of fabulous year-long gap year experiences, the vast majority of families that we work with will break their year up into parts, maybe even trimesters. As an example, this does not need to be your year, but it gives you a way to start to really have a framework: fall, winter, spring. If you were to take this kind of model and that feels good for you because you have a few distinct areas of interest, keep in mind this idea of a progression. That was the name that we decided to put on the slide. So there could be a social progression, there could be a structural progression, there could be a financial progression. Regardless, what we tend to find as just, it's a not so secret recipe for success is front loading one's gap time. Whether you're launching this January or you're launching next September, launching off with more structure. More structure in the beginning is always better than less. More peers, facilitators, real content and itinerary, people who are helping to hold the experience, whether they are month long or 3 months long or even longer. What happens from kicking off your gap time with an experience, a substantive experience like this, many benefits, but one of which being it sets a student and family up for increasingly potentially more independent experiences. It can really open up what's available to you. The budget often can stretch quite a bit more and ultimately lead students to a spring or a final chapter that often is like the road trip or the backpacking, the experience that a student often has some excitement about, and parents don't feel like they may not be ready for that. But we're here to tell you that if they've done 6 months of some other more facilitated experiences, they're going to be a lot more prepared to really spread their wings independently towards the end.
In our last moments with you, we want to share that J2 Guides is a full-service gap year counseling organization. We are 2 of the 8 accredited gap year counselors in this country, and we have tried to offer the most affordable opportunities for gap year counseling. We have services anywhere from $600 to $2,000 to support you in planning out your gap year from the beginning in the fall, if that's when you begin, all the way to the end of your spring. We offer $10,000 worth of scholarships to students. We want to make this as financially accessible to students as possible. We feel like everybody deserves to take gap time if they think that's the right opportunity for them. Feel free to contact us if you'd like to learn more.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, J2 Guides. Really appreciate you sharing a little bit more. And from here, we'll head on over to Global Citizen Year.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here. I too kind of feel like we are running a marathon in 6 minutes. So let's see if I can do this. All righty. So I am Sade Ojuola, representing Global Citizen Year. And we have 2 programs. So typically in a normal year, we would be offering our fellowship abroad. I'll let you read about it there since I'm on limited time. But as of right now, we haven't yet made the announcement as to whether or not we'll be able to have the fellowship next year. I recommend going on our website and signing up for our newsletter if you want to be updated about that. But we do know that we will be offering the academy. And so this fall, we kind of made a pivot. And so we obviously couldn't run our fellowship in the way that we want to, in the way that felt safe for our program. And so we had to kind of take a look and decide how we might take kind of the best parts of our program, other than the obvious being abroad, and offer it to students who are still needing some leadership growth in this moment. And so that's what the Academy really is. It's a formalized leadership training for students age 17 to 21 all over the world. And we have a partnership with Minerva Schools at KGI, and they allow us to use their forum platform, which for those of us who are zoomed out and just kind of zoning out in a Zoom style meeting, a forum is so different and so much more engaging. And a lot of the students have told me that that is kind of the differentiator for them. The Academy runs for 12 weeks, 5 to 10 hours, and that's including classes. So the actual main component is going to be a 1-hour course that you meet in once a week. And then kind of like college classes will have the lecture and then the smaller group discussions. You'll then have 2 meetings with your discussion group for 1 hour a week. And so altogether, that's 3.5 hours in a class setting, but anything outside might be homework, reflections, participating in some of our activities like the speaker series, opportunities for mentorship, and then internships and volunteering, which I'll talk a bit about right now. So I just talked to you a bit about what the Leadership as a Practice course is. You'll see in the bottom right corner a little bit of an overview as to things our students in that class are thinking about. Really, we're just trying to help you get tangible leadership skills for this global modern world where you're just going to need a different kind of leadership to lead effectively. You'll see in the bottom left a few organizations that we have partnerships with. So these are our impact partners. And students have the option, you don't have to, but you have the option of looking at what kind of volunteer or internship opportunities these orgs have. And we have an agreement with them that they will take on our Academy students. And so you can engage in their work virtually. And then in the top right is what I would say is one of the coolest things about the Academy, our leadership speaker series. And so this is just 4 of many different speakers we've had. Jay Shetty spoke to us today. DeRay McKesson was last week. Sean Mendez was last week. Wendy Kopp of Teach for All was also last week or the week before. It's all kind of running together at this point. But our Academy students have exclusive access to hour-long talks with these speakers. And they are interviewed by alumni of our fellowship, which I think adds a unique lens to the interview. It's just a very grounded, inspirational conversation. And I think, although you might think of these folks as just huge names who have so much to say about their field and whatever sector they're in, the coolest thing about the speaker series is that they're really tailoring it to you. So they know that they're speaking to students 17 to 21. And so they're really reflecting on their own leadership journeys and giving awesome insights to the students. And then finally, one-on-one mentorship. This is an optional opportunity where students can access over 200 mentors that we have in our database. And you can essentially look at what they do, how it might align with what you're interested in, and send them a message to start a mentor relationship. And then this final page here basically has all the logistical information about the Spring Academy. So it's going to start on February 22nd and end on May 14th. We have 2 deadlines, one coming up next week, and that is our priority deadline for financial aid. You'll actually see that the tuition for the Academy depends on your family's income. So the sliding scale model is just something we have implemented to make this program as accessible as possible worldwide. So you'll be paying $500 at the lowest end to $5,000 at the highest. And we do have an appeal process for students who really do have greater need. You can email the admissions office, which is me, and begin that appeal process. So you will see the bit.ly link at the top and my contact information at the bottom. And feel free to let us know if you have any questions. That's all for me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Global Citizen here. Our next program is Camphill Communities of North America.
Hi, my name is Lila, and I'm here with my colleague Lindsay. I probably need to share my screen, don't I? Okay, so Lindsay will answer questions if you guys have any, and I'm going to jump right in to tell you a little bit about Camphill. So what is Camphill? Camphill is a place where we co-create full and meaningful lives for and with people with varied abilities in our inclusive, sustainable, nonprofit residential communities and schools. In our communities, you'll find short-term, like gap year students, and long-term volunteers who come from all around the world. And then you'll find, depending on the community, children, young adults, adults, and elders with intellectual and developmental disabilities like autism and Down syndrome. So what makes Camphill unique? Quite a lot. Let's just quickly start with authentic relationships. And that really comes from living and working together with people from different backgrounds, different cultures, and different abilities, and having the opportunity to really be yourself when you don't compartmentalize, your work friends, your school friends, your family life, all of those things. It's all together. You really you have the opportunity, and really you have no choice but to be yourself. And then in Camphill, the folks who we work with are amazing models for just being yourself, being comfortable in who you are, being accepted in who you are. And it's really one of the most beautiful things in Camphill, the friendships that come out of that. Environmental stewardship is another big thing in our communities. And you'll see that in regenerative agriculture, renewable energy, and just the overall smaller footprint lifestyle. So agriculture is big in Camphill. We practice biodynamic farming, which is really a much more holistic approach. It's like organic plus, plus, plus. Animals are treated much better. The fruits and vegetables that we grow are healthier. We don't put anything toxic in the soil. We build up the soil health. Our practices involve carbon sequestration. So it's just a much more, it really is actually like healing for the environment as opposed to harmful, and also healthy for us. The food that we eat is healthy. We spend a lot of time outdoors. And we also are very focused on creative arts, which is definitely an important part of a healthy lifestyle. So in our communities, you will find fiber arts like felting, weaving, woodworking, ceramics, candle making, book binding, a lot of artisan baking, there's stained glass. I mean, there's so many different workshops in our communities that everyone participates in. A lot of gap year students would perhaps split their week. They could do, something indoors the whole time. If you're not an outdoor person, you could do outdoor work year round, or a lot of people might do a little bit of indoor work and something outdoors. And then also performing arts. We celebrate a lot in Camphill. So drama, music, poetry, that's a really big part of our week and our year. And then most important, because Camphill communities are really founded on the principle of kind of having respect and fostering the development of folks with disabilities, that's kind of how we operate with everybody. So all of our volunteers kind of benefit from just this environment that we create that's about encouraging people to learn, grow, and reach their full potential. And, that's also just goes back to these authentic relationships that's really at the core of that. And then our compensation model, which we're unique in that for our gap year students, there's no cost. We actually provide free room and board. We provide a modest monthly stipend, some vacation money, and a lot of other basic essentials. Just a quick map view that you can see kind of where our communities in North America are, with a pretty big concentration. These two ones over here with the plus signs actually represents clusters of 3 and 4 communities. And just quickly, our COVID-19 protocols, all of our communities have remained COVID-free. throughout the whole pandemic, and we've just been very focused on keeping our vulnerable population safe and following, of course, all federal, state, and local guidelines. And new arrivals have a quarantine period that's very comfortable. It's basically like a free vacation with room service. And then we do require masks in certain settings, and then in other settings it's mask free. And we have these different groups that people kind of spend their time with to just keep things as safe as we can. I feel like I skipped something very important there and trying to rush through, but you can learn a little bit more about us if you go to our Instagram, Camphill Volunteer Life, or our Facebook, and of course, visit our website. I wish I knew how much time I had left, but yeah, I guess that's Camphill in a nutshell, and I would be happy to answer any questions that come through.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing a little bit more about Camphill. Before we head on over to our next program, I do want to plug another quick reminder for the Q&A. And so you all are doing a great job asking questions. Don't forget about that option. So continue to send those questions in through that Q&A feature. From here, we'll head on over to DownWest Semesters.
Hello, can everyone see me?
Yep, we can see you.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Alec Norton, and I'm one of the founders and directors at DownWest. I'm really excited to share DownWest with you and to be here today. And it's great to see some familiar faces like J2 Guides, who I've worked with a bit this fall. So great to see the other panelists here. I know the GAP experience firsthand, not only from running DownWest, but also from having taken a gap year myself a while ago now, before heading off to college at Stanford. So I know how challenging the process can be, the planning and the decision, but I also know how rewarding it is. So just wanted to give kudos to all of you who are considering taking a gap year or gap semester or are currently doing so. I learned a ton on my gap year. I felt like I grew a lot and gained a lot of confidence, and it made me that much more prepared to head off to college. But beyond that, it has really informed my professional career. I have now worked in the outdoors with students for over 15 years now. And it also really informs all of our programs and itineraries and curriculums at DownWest. So all of our trips are anywhere from 2 to 5 weeks. And that's really intentional because we believe that that's the perfect amount of time for you to really immerse yourself in the experience while still giving you the flexibility and really the opportunity to get out there and pursue your other gap year goals, whether that's bolting together another 5 weeks with DownWest or heading out and working, or maybe the next step is college at that point. A bit more about DownWest. Our foundation really comes from our shared love of the West. So I grew up in Colorado and guided for Overland Summers before becoming a director there, overseeing programs all over, but including in the West. And my co-founder, Howie, first headed west to attend college at Pomona before becoming a guide with Backroads and instructor at Knowles. He was on the English faculty at the High Mountain Institute and now lives out in Utah, which is just a stone's throw from Canyon Country, where we run some of our backpacking programs. So we have this shared love of the area, and we draw on the best of these organizations that we've worked with in the past, and that's really our foundation. For DownWest, you can go on trips in Colorado. We have programs in Utah and in Arizona, and we're working on some itineraries in Alaska for the summer. But no matter where you go or what you're doing, at the core of the experience are our goals for you. Those are really the same. And that's to learn and to grow, to immerse yourself in the experience, in the place, in the group, to discover that you're capable of more than you ever imagined, and of course, have a ton of fun along the way. We also want to work with you and your family to set you up for success. So we want to give you these additional skills so that you can more confidently tackle whatever comes next, whether that's heading off to college, or maybe it's returning home and leading a group of your peers on your own backpacking adventure. All of our trips have a leadership curriculum, and that starts with lessons in discussions. You're learning from your peers, you're learning from your instructors, and then you're hitting the trail, and that's a chance for you to hone your own leadership style through what we call leader of the day. And then over the course of the trip, you're really progressing to the point where at the end, you as a group, as a student group, are taking full ownership of the experience. So you're planning it out and you're leading it with the support of your instructors. Our curriculum also includes some of our favorite readings from our time in the West. So it might be something like an excerpt from Terry Tempest Williams, or an article on Bears Ears National Monument in Utah. These lessons and discussions occur at natural breaks during the day, whether that's in camp or on the trail or on the river. And they're a chance for you to really dive in and get to know a topic. And they're interspersed with more interactive sessions. So hiking up to an ancient Native American site above the Colorado River, or learning from a local outside Crested Butte, Colorado about public land use. You don't need to be an expert backpacker or a really experienced cyclist to come on this program. Really no prior experience is necessary. We just ask that you put in the time before to prepare, to educate yourself about the experience, and then come with an open mind and a real willingness to learn. And perhaps most importantly, a real commitment to being a really supportive and incredible team member. And with all of that, you'll be ready to tackle the challenges along the way. And that's kind of the core of what we do. We want you to be challenged, because we believe it's through being challenged, through pushing yourself, through stepping out of your comfort zone, and through trying something new, that you will really grow and come away with a real sense of accomplishment and a new confidence. So if that interests you, I encourage you to apply. You can see more information about our cost, our application, financial aid, COVID-19 protocols on our website. So thank you for your time.
Great, thank you so much, DownWest Semesters. Up next, we have Gap Year at SOAR.
Hi, everyone. Let me get my screen shared here. Let's see. There we go. All right, I'm Cynthia Kelly. I'm the Director of Admissions here at SOAR. And I'm just gonna give you some quick facts, go over our base phase, our expedition phase, our mentors, and we can do the Q&A at the end. SOAR has been around for over 40 years and has provided programs across the United States for ADHD and learning differences. Our GAP program offers a unique combination of independent living skills and experiential adventure through academics, travel, self-advocacy, life skills, project-based learning, field studies, community, and empowerment. So just some quick facts for you. Our campus is located in Du Bois, Wyoming, and we serve Gappers ages 18 to 24. And our program runs from September to April, so 8-month program. We have a 1-to-5 mentor to Gapper ratio, and you can earn 4 college credits while you're here. We have 6 total travel expeditions, and one of those is an international trip. So for the base phase, while you're at our campus. It's a very large ranch. We call it Eagle View Ranch. You are at the base for 2 weeks and then on expedition for 2 weeks. And we rotate like that throughout the 8 months. So we're focusing on work skills, building community, and then you can take 2 college courses in the fall and 2 in the spring. And we have a partnership with Central Wyoming Community College, and it's solely our GAP students at these classes. But we have lots of community involvement with internships around the area and some volunteer projects and also fun weekend adventures as well. So for the expedition phase, you travel throughout the Western United States, going to national parks. And it's really cool because you have a say in where you go. So you will vote and get to have ownership of your experience. So you'll plan the expeditions, and they're high adventure activities: rock climbing, backpacking, canoeing, mountain biking, and kayaking. And then just a little about our mentors. They're just incredible folks, and they're always available for our gappers. They help them find their strengths. They work on time management and executive functioning, multitasking, conflict resolution. They'll teach you how to change a flat tire, cook, clean, all that good stuff. And then at the end of the program, you and your mentor will come up with a personalized gap year transition plan, and you'll be ready to execute that plan upon leaving. But mainly they're also helping to produce the next generation of adventurers. And here's a student testimonial. And that's it. Thank you. It was really nice to meet you. Feel free to take a picture of my email, send me a message anytime. I'm happy to answer all your questions and help you figure out if our program is a good fit for you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for sharing a little bit more about Gap Year at SOAR. Of course. Yeah, so now we'll head on over to our final program of the session, which is Where There Be Dragons.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you all. My name is Eva from Where There Be Dragons. I'm just going to share my screen here and get us going. I've been with Dragons for 12 years. And so if you have any questions after my short presentation, please feel free to reach out. I love chatting with students and parents. So Dragons runs immersive, responsible, and educational travel programs. We started about 30 years ago. Our programs were mostly started in Asia, then quickly moved to Latin America, Africa, and most recently, we also now have programs in the USA. We run 3-month gap year semesters, which start in September and in February, and they're for students aged 17 to 22. 5 of our programs also offer college credit. And at the base of our programs, we essentially offer kind of 2 macro goals. They're really place-focused programs, and they're really self-focused programs. And so at the core of what we do, we really hope that students get to honestly experience the places where we travel. And we want them to learn as much as possible about the locations where we go in a very real and honest way, and create meaningful connections to the people and places you visit. But our programs are also self-focused. And we know, having worked in this field for a really long time, that travel is a super powerful teacher. So a lot of our program is focused on you, and it's about you gaining personal skills, knowledge, and perspective, and thinking about kind of what you value, where you're moving on in the future, and kind of what's important in life. And so those goals actually really speak to our name, which is, I always get snickers about. It's kind of a funny name, but in the past, essentially where there be dragons used to mean these places where no one had ever gone, and these unknown lands. And today, Where There Be Dragons really just means traveling differently. It means traveling to locations and witnessing stories and hearing realities that often kind of aren't on the map. And also going to these unknown places kind of within ourselves and exploring new parts of who we are. So what makes Dragons unique? I've already kind of spoken to this, but we call our programs unfiltered. And essentially what that means is we're not sitting on fancy buses and kind of looking out the window. Our programs definitely are not touristic. We're really diving into the locations where we travel and learning about all the like complicated, beautiful, and joyful realities of the places where we go. Each of our programs is custom crafted and one of a kind. So we definitely don't, have a cookie cutter model where day 1 of your program is like this and day 15 is like this. Each of our programs is fresh and new and created by our instructors. And what they do is they bring in their own personal experiences and backgrounds to really create these unique programs. And we can do this because our instructors generally, as a team of 3, have about 5 to 15 years working and traveling where they take students. So they're definitely really like experts in place. Dragons programs are also small groups. So we have just 12 students and 3 instructors on each program. And we follow an ethic of responsible travel. And this is a bullet I could talk about forever. For us, it's a lifelong process. We're constantly learning and constantly growing, but responsible travel is really at the core of all that we do. And we're definitely not perfect, but for us, we really try to focus on creating very sustainable relationships with our communities that are reciprocal. And we also let the places where we travel speak for themselves. We ask students and instructors to adapt to the places and not have places adapt to us. Dragons is also a B Corp. We offer carbon offsets, and we practice service a little bit differently. We call our service learning service as opposed to volunteering, and so on, so on. So more about Dragons. Our programs are definitely educational, and I kind of mentioned this, but they're essentially intended for students to learn all about the places where we go. So the history, the culture, the politics, human rights, development, and nothing is in a classroom. Everything's super hands-on and experiential. And all of our programs kind of have a different focus, so we offer programs that are a little bit more trekking and adventure focused. We offer programs that really hone in on environmental issues and sustainability. We also offer programs that are really kind of geared towards language learning. So there's kind of a wide variety of offerings that we have, but all of our programs have 9 program components. So they're very holistic courses, and students kind of get to do a little bit of everything on their time on course. So for example, we have an Andes and Amazon program that does 6 weeks of Spanish instruction, hikes up to the Andes and then all the way down into the Amazon, and then focuses on social justice, where our Indonesia course spends time doing homestays with sea gypsy communities, spear fishing and reef conservation, and then also dives into themes of Islam. So our programs are definitely vast and there's a lot going on. They're fun and they're definitely safe. So if anything that I've said resonates with you, you're definitely a Dragons student. You don't have to have any prior background or experience to be on a program. For us, we're just looking for students who are curious about themselves and the world and want to have really real experiences. And we also offer financial aid to about 30% plus of our students every year. So if cost is an issue, definitely have a conversation with me. I'm the admissions director and I'm involved in the financial aid committee, and I'd love to hear from you. So if you're interested, we have an application process where you apply online. It's definitely not a college application. We just want to know who you are and why you're excited about Dragons. We do a quick interview and just assess whether your physical and mental health are in a good place to be on a rigorous program, and just ensure the timing is right. We have rolling admissions, so our programs are starting to fill now for next fall. But we generally have room through May of each season for the fall and spring sessions. And then if you decide to join, we're here to help you through every step of the process. So we're here to help you with visas, flights, packing lists, et cetera, et cetera. So we got you. So that's all I have for now, and we'd love to hear from you. Again, my name is Eva from Where There Be Dragons. I'm the admissions director, and here is all my contact information. Thanks for your time.
Wonderful, great, thank you so much. So I think that we do have a few minutes for some questions. So if our representatives would like to pop back on over video, we have received a few that might be good to have everyone kind of chime in with their own response. And so I think the first that would be great is we did get the question of, are these programs technology free, or are you still able to keep in touch with friends and families while on the program? So whoever would like to chime in first.
I'll chime in. Our programs are tech free, and that's kind of an intentional part of just being present on course. However, students do have the ability to contact family at internet cafes and cheap international phone calls along the program.
I can also pipe in. So in Camphill, people bring their cell phones and things like that. And it's really just a question of using good judgment about, not pulling your cell phone out when you're working or sitting down to a meal. A lot of the communities do have Wi-Fi, some don't. So there might be places where people might have to take their computer to access the internet. But yeah, we try and not have too much screen time, but people use their screens. We're not anti-tech.
Yeah, we are tech free as well, so that students really have the time to step away from the screen and technology to, again, immerse themselves fully in the experience. We do arrange times that fit naturally within the itinerary. It might be once every couple of weeks for calls home.
Not exactly relevant to our academy, which happens entirely online, but our fellowship, we do allow phones. It's really more of a safety thing for us because a lot of our placements are a little more remote. So we do allow phones, and we'll provide one if you don't have one, but we do agree that it's all about good judgment.
Wonderful. So another question that we received, and I think this will be our last live question, but do know that if you're sending in questions right now and you do not receive a typed response, that all of our presenters today will receive all of your questions after the session as well, so they may follow up with you over email. But I think our last live question will be, how many of your programs are accessible to international students, and are they able to participate?
I'll jump in again. We have about 30% of our student body coming from international locations, all the way from Jamaica, Mexico, Canada, all over the world. So absolutely, and we love that.
Yeah, and Camphill in a typical year is probably 80% of our volunteers, 75 maybe, are international. It really depends on the community, actually. But yeah, so we have people who come from every inhabited continent in the world, in our communities. Yeah.
Yep.
DownWest as well. Yeah, DownWest as well. We welcome international students and would look forward to their applications.
Yeah, J2 Guides as well welcomes working with families all over the country and all over the world who are considering these kinds of ideas and need someone to talk to. So absolutely.
And the Academy is open to students all over the world. We have students from 50 countries right now. And the fellowship similarly is for a global audience, but our financial aid is only for US students or students in one of our partnerships.
Yes, and Gap Year at SOAR, we love international students.
Great. Thank you all for sharing a little bit more. And I'm glad that we were able to answer a few questions live here. But I think that is about all the time that we have for this session. So I just want to say a big thank you to all of our presenters for sharing a little bit more about what each of them do and their programs do. But also a big thank you to all of you for joining us for this session. We hope that you found all of this wonderful information helpful. I do want to make note that you will see, as soon as this session ends, a very quick 4-question survey will pop up on your screen. If you don't mind taking the extra minute to fill it out, it's really helpful for us to get a little bit of feedback as we continue to plan future sessions like these. And another reminder that this session was recorded. And so if you need to return to any of this information, you will receive that recording via email in the coming days. So a big thank you to our presenters once again, a big thank you to all of you for joining us, and I hope that everyone has a great rest of their day.